Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again to review another Beavis and Butthead episode. This is Beavis and Butthead Reboot, Season 2, Episode 4. First off, I think that this is probably the second, I don't know, it's either the second best or the third best episode so far. You know, overall, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't great, it was just kind of in the middle. I've noticed that, you know, there will be like one kind of weak story and then one really good one, and I kind of wonder like how they picked which episodes would be shown together, because if I told, like, let's just say there's 12 episodes this season, that's 24 stories. If I told 24 people to write me Beavis and Butthead episodes, and half of them were bad, or maybe near half, then I would be like, you know what? Let's schedule a bad one and then a good one with it. And so that way, you know, people can just say, well, I didn't like that one, but I like that one. And it can be more of like a mixed / positive response that people give. Because this episode had another, like, last week, it had another weak one and then like a great one. So the first one was Hellhole, and I found it hilarious that this episode aired because, that it was written because there was just this, like, I think it's a viral video, I'm not really sure if it is or not, but I saw it on Twitter this morning, and there was this guy and he was smoking a cigarette, and he walked in front of this, like, hole in the ground, and he just threw his cigarette in the ground, in the hole, like an idiot, and then the whole ground, like, exploded, and he got fucked up, and then he was, like, crawling away, and it was so funny because, number one, that's exactly what happens in this episode, where Beavis and Butthead are doing something in the sewer, and then they cause this huge explosion, and they're in the explosion. But number two, that viral video showed you what would have happened to Twilight Boy Batman in his crappy Batman movie. You know, the times where, like, people in that movie, they just stand in front of an explosion and they're fine and nothing bad happened to them. Like, this is what would have happened, okay? So, Hellhole, as I said, or as I was discussing, essentially, Beavis and Butthead get into this construction hole that leads to the sewer, and they're like, oh, it's hell. It's not the sewer, it's hell. And this is another instance where I was like, are they really this stupid? Like, are they really, like, this disconnected from the world, this disconnected from just their surroundings? I mean, it's like, it would be like this. What if Beavis and Butthead walked into a real strip club and maybe it was like free lap dance night, which would never happen in the history of the universe. But let's say it did. That would be like heaven to them. So would they just automatically assume that that strip club is heaven? And be like, wow, we made it to heaven. We're in the strip club getting free lap dances. Like, I thought that was kind of stupid, but I was going along with it. And then they just kind of fuck around and find out, you know, with the sewer, they're playing around and it's kind of gross and weird and funny. And then they get this jackhammer and they're jackhammering into the shit and everything, and just like, oh God. It was pretty weird. It was pretty, like, I don't know. It seems like this is an episode where I could have seen extending it to 30 minutes and then having all sorts of weird hell elements come out. Like, what if there was like some junkie or something in the sewer and he could be like, I don't know, like a demon to them or something. Like, I don't know, like it seemed like they could have done a lot more with this concept. And that since it's only 10 minutes or 8 minutes, they have to kind of rush through it and, go through it really fast. And then that's not even taking into account the music video commentary that they have to put in there. So they really don't have much time to do as much as they would if it was like a 30-minute episode. And then eventually they make it to where all the lights go out. And then after that, Beavis and Butthead think that they're like touching demon girls' legs and asses and stuff. It's really weird. And then what happens is they cause an explosion, and that leads to them being discovered in the sewer, and they get rescued, and then they get celebrated, and it's like oh, like this explosion actually caused them to fall down there, right? And so it's like, oh, we're glad they're okay. So that was kind of like that was a meh episode. I give it a C. The music video commentary was meh too. It was basically, I think, Nicki Minaj, and she was doing some sort of a Frankenstein thing, and they were joking that she's making like a Franken slut, and that was pretty funny. That was probably the funniest joke the whole story. And then the second story was called Take a Bow. And this is another episode, kind of, where it's all built around this one joke. And if you don't find this one joke funny, you're not really going to find the episode funny. I thought it was kind of funny. It was definitely a lot better than the first story. Basically, Beavis and Butthead, he has hit Beavis in the balls too many times. And so they're inflamed and in pain, and so he has to stay at the hospital while Butthead is just like, what do I do? Like, it's kind of interesting. I kind of like this episode for the seriousness a little bit, and the experimenting, and like the dreams and the hallucinations and the weird stuff. I kind of liked it for that. I thought it was cool. Because then, so the whole episode, though, as I was saying with the joke, it's take a bow. And that means that, you tell someone to take a bow and then you hit them in the nuts and it forces them to take a bow. And they do it, I think they do it like 4 or 5 times this whole episode. So, yeah, it's very, very used. It's a used joke. And it is funny, too, because Butthead is like, I'm not going to hit you in the balls again until you feel all better. And then he's like, do you feel better? And then he thinks that Beavis died. And then I think the best part of this whole episode was when Butthead goes to the hospital chapel, or is that what you call it? I don't know. Church, hospital, whatever. The hospital church. He goes there and he prays, and he's like, I didn't want to kill Beavis, but it was really, really funny. It was really hilarious that take a bow and then boom. I thought that was so funny. He's like, I didn't want to kill him, but it was really hilarious. It was really, really funny. Because that was totally in line with Butthead's character. I thought that they were both very in character this episode. And then the most interesting thing happens, because apparently Beavis did die this episode, or he almost died, and Archangel Michael brought Beavis back to life. And so Beavis is having a hallucination where he thinks he's going to go to heaven or something, and then this tentacle monster grabs him and forces him back, or no, kind of forces him to have sex or something, and tangles him down so he can't die. And then at the same time, we see that all these doctors are like touching his balls. I thought that was hilarious too. It was like a whole room full of doctors, and it's like, oh, just imagining that, like, wouldn't that be like the worst, guys? Like, if, I mean, Beavis, at least he's asleep, at least he's like in a deep sleep. Just imagine you're awake and you have like 10 doctors come in, they're all touching you, like, ew. That just, that part was like a little like, ugh. I mean, the whole episode was kind of ugh, because you can just feel the pain without even experiencing it, you know? Like, just get, ugh. And so Beavis comes back and Butthead takes him home, but the episode does not end with Beavis and Butthead. The episode ends with Archangel Michael. And Archangel Michael is in heaven, and he tells God that, like, he talks to him about having just saved Beavis. And then God says, take a bow, and he hits Archangel Michael in the testicles. I thought that was great. That was totally worth it. I was like, wow, you know, that was clever. I like that. I thought that was like pretty fun and creative, and I liked the experimenting with that. Because you could have just ended the episode with like really predictable, oh, Butthead takes Beavis out of the hospital, and in the parking lot he hits him in the balls again. You know, like, they could have easily done that lazy ending, but instead they chose to do something clever and funny. And then the music video is by some guy named Camino or something. That one was pretty funny, although they were kind of like misunderstanding it, you know, like this guy singing in the field, and then these older people are in the house, and they're making it seem like the older people are mad at him for singing in the field, and they should go out there and tell him off. But in reality, like, you can clearly see from the visual storytelling of the music video, you can clearly see that his singing is making them be reminded of some sort of past experience in their lives. You know, so they're not mad at all. And so I felt like that was a total failure in terms of their commentary, because it would have been fine like at first, but like the whole entire fucking music video, and they just refused to even like, it was like that was the joke, and once they joked, they had to stick with it. I thought that was kind of unfortunate, because it's like, it's right there. I mean, they're watching the video, and, you know, excuse me, you can see these flashbacks right there, and you can see, like, they're crying, and then there's pictures of them while they're young. There's nothing about them, like, being angry at their son for singing in a field, so, but, I mean, it would have been funny if they were, if you could interpret that way, but I really don't think you could. And then finally, they also had a funny Mountain Dew chugging video reaction to, I think his name is like Badland Chug, and, you know, he's this big guy, and he just chugs everything. And in this video, he chugs all the flavors of Mountain Dew. And it got to be really funny because they started ranting about cherry flavor, and it just felt like such an 80s thing, such a 90s thing to rant about. Because, back then, I always hear this from people, all sorts of people who are like in their 30s and 40s. They all talk about how they hate cherry flavor. They hate they hate like anything that's flavored like cherry. They think that all cherry flavor tastes awful. It tastes like cough syrup. And it's all because when they were kids, that was all that their medicine tasted like. And so they didn't really get to have the pleasant experience of just, having cherries and then having, other flavors of medicine. I don't know. It's kind of weird because it's like they have other flavors of medicine. Like it's not just cherry. I had lots of like orange flavored medicine as a kid. Or the one that I like to talk about a lot because it was so delicious. It was actually like a tasty medicine that like, I don't know how they made it taste so good. Was this like peach antibiotic that I had to take this one time when I had an ear infection. And it was amazing. It was like a cherry soda. I mean, not cherry, peach soda. And it was so delicious. But, Beavis and Butthead, I guess they grew up with cherry-flavored medicines and stuff, and so they just hate it. And, Butthead's like, this one guy told me that cherry is a real fruit, and that really pissed me off, like, or something like that. That was really funny. So anyways, overall, I just give this episode a C+. I gave the first story a C. I give the second story a B+. That kind of averages out to like a C+ or B-, but I really just think it's a C+. So not the best episode, not the worst one. Still, I am enjoying the season. It feels like each episode, at least, that there's good ideas. Like them going into a sewer and thinking it's hell. That's a good idea. It's just poorly executed, in my opinion. So please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of episode 4, and then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest Beavis and Butthead reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.